What really happened during the infamous Philadelphia experiment? Stay tuned after this. What's up, Grayson Report? Happy Friday. I hope I find you well. I have this cool article, What's the Truth Behind the Infamous Philadelphia Experiment? I don't know much about the Philadelphia experiment. I mean, I think I've heard something about it during The Watchmen, but don't quote me. Let's dive in and see what this is about. In October of 1943, a U.S. Navy destroyer was supposedly turned invisible and teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk. But did it really happen? If the stories are to be believed, the Philadelphia experiment went something like this. As it sat in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in 1943, the newly commissioned destroyer USS Eldridge was being outfitted with several intriguing devices. These included top secret generators that were said to be able to make the ship completely invisible to the enemy. I kind of feel like that's not possible because maybe I feel like maybe now it would be more possible than back in 1943 because we have better technology, but to each his own. As the final generators were put into place, the crew readied themselves for the system test. There, in broad daylight on a clear summer's day, in the middle of the shipyard, the generators were switched on and a greenish blue glow surrounded the ship. Before the crew's eyes, the ship disappeared entirely. I would think, I don't know, back in 1943, I think if something like that would happen, I would think it would destroy it, like instead of the ship disappearing. Witness in the Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia reported seeing the Eldridge appear in their waters before it disappeared just as rapidly. Hours later, it showed up back in Philadelphia. Crew members aboard the ship reported nausea, insanity, and burn marks. Others reported being entirely embedded within the metal structure of the ship, having fallen through the floors or walls during the time it was missing. Some claimed to have rematerialized inside out or not at all. That sounds like something out of a horror movie, and I would hate to see that. That would be kind of creepy to see. People being stuck in between the metal structure. That would be creepy. The only problem with the tale, according to prevailing wisdom, it never happened. Starting at the beginning of the Philadelphia experiment, the story of the Philadelphia experiment has lived on for decades, despite the fact that much of what is known is pure conjecture. Of the hundreds of stories and details that have been thrown around over the years, only a few things are known for certain. The first of these is the one Morris K. Jessup, an astronomer specializing in the propulsion of unidentified flying objects or UFOs, received a letter from a man named Carlos Allende, also known as Carl Allen, who claimed to have witnessed a secret experiment in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Allende claimed that he was aboard the SS Andrew Furuseth in Philadelphia in 1943 when he witnessed the naval ship USS Eldridge become invisible before reappearing in Virginia, disappearing again and appearing back in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. My thing is, how did he know it reappeared in Virginia if he was in Philadelphia watching the ship disappear? He also declared that the experiment was proof of Einstein's unified field theory, which Allende claimed taught him the theory. Jessup attempted to investigate Allende's incredulous claims, though he could not find any physical evidence to support them. Eventually, he wrote Allende off as a fool. The Philadelphia experiment conspiracy theory is born. The story might have ended there and then, but in 1957, Jessup was contacted by the Office of Naval Research with a strange report. They told them they'd receive a copy of Jessup's book, The Case of the UFO, which detailed how UFOs might be able to fly. The book was annotated with notes in 3 different handwritings, one of which supposedly belonged to an alien. These notes claimed to have an advanced understanding of physics and extraterrestrial technology. Well, how did they know it was handwritten by an alien? Was it in different letters or what? Because how do you tell if something was written by an alien? I don't think I've ever seen anything written by an alien, so how do they know it was written by an alien? The uncommon use of capitalization and punctuation led experts to believe that the annotator was, at the very least, not a native English speaker. Jessup himself believed the annotations were the work of Allende, the mysterious letter writer. The annotators discussed the merits of Jessup's claims and referenced the Philadelphia experiment multiple times. For reasons that remain unclear, the ONR decided to publish 127 copies of the annotated book. They were instantly dubbed the Varro editions after their publisher, Varro Manufacturer. So, the story of the Philadelphia experiment was given new life. The lack of evidence, apart from Allende's claims and the Varro annotations, all reports of the Philadelphia experiment have been uncorroborated, considered a hoax, or brushed aside as the claims simply do not conform to the laws of physics. The government organization that was allegedly involved declared that it never happened, and indeed no documents have ever been found. Truly, the mysterious annotated manuscript of Jessup's book seemed to be the only written mention of the Philadelphia experiment. Over the years, the Philadelphia experiment has become somewhat of a gambit amongst conspiracy theorists. Everyone has their own version of the events or explanations as to what could have caused the alleged disappearance and teleportation of an entire naval destroyer, ranging from government contacts with aliens to paranormal interference. The sole fact that Carlos Allende seemed to be the only witness to such a large-scale event seemed to hold most right-minded people back from believing the story. However, in 1988, Allende was joined by another witness. That is true. That's kind of weird that Allende is the only witness, because to have an experiment where an entire ship disappears and they're using equipment that they probably have never used before, wouldn't there be some sort of crowd, even if it's military officials looking on? That's kind of strange. A man named Al Bailek came forward in 1988, 4 years after Hollywood had gotten their hands on the story of the experiments and released a movie. That is kind of strange too. Why all of a sudden did this man come out, especially when a movie had taken place? Bellick claimed that he was aboard the Eldridge when it disappeared and that he had been brainwashed to forget it. It was only upon seeing the movie's depiction of the event that the memories had come flooding back. Despite the fact that there were now two men who claimed to have firsthand knowledge of the test, the idea that it was a hoax still dominated conversations about the Philadelphia experiment. This is a picture of Al Bellick. He claims to be the survivor of the Philadelphia experiment. He didn't come out, as the article explained, until 4 years after a movie had come out in 1988. So that is kind of strange. I mean, why all of a sudden a movie came out and now you want to talk about it? Like, that makes no sense to me. The only thing I can think of for someone to do this after a movie had come out is to get notoriety, to get fame, maybe to get some financial compensation, but I am not sure, because I mean, only the there really wasn't any survivor, or not survivors, I should say, but there wasn't anybody there except Allende and Balek, who said that they were there, which I still feel like, how could a big experiment like that only have two witnesses? Makes no sense. A more sensational explanation behind what happened to the USS Eldridge. Today, most people are inclined to believe the explanation put forth by Edward Dudgeon, a man who had worked as a Navy electrician and was stationed near the USS Eldridge in the summer of 1943. According to Dudgeon, generators were indeed placed on both the Eldridge and his ship, the USS Ingstrom, to make the ships invisible. However, the term invisible did not apply to the ship's physical appearance, but rather to its ability to be detected by the magnetic torpedoes fired by German U-boats. In fact, this process had its own name, the degaussing. Dudgeon also had logical explanations for the ship's greenish-blue glow and appearance in Norfolk, Virginia. The glow, he said, was likely the result of a lightning-like phenomenon known as St. Elmo's fire. Meanwhile, the fact that the ship seemingly appeared out of thin air in Virginia before reappearing quickly in Philadelphia was explained by inland canals, which were off limits to civilians and could shorten a 2-day commercial journey to just 6 hours. Even though Dudgeon put forth an excellent explanation for the Philadelphia experiment, there are still those who choose to believe the more exciting version. As there are no official documents explaining what transpired, technically speaking, there's no proof for either story. As for the USS Eldridge itself, it was transferred to Greece and rechristened the S.H. Lyon before being used in exercises during the Cold War. Now it lies in pieces after being sold for scrap metal in the 90s. Guys, what do you believe that the Philadelphia experiment really happened? Comment below. I don't think it really happened. I feel like in 1943, I don't think they had the technology to make a ship go invisible and reappear. I do believe Dudgeon's explanation as to making it invisible to torpedoes or to missiles. That to me is more plausible back then than the whole ship disappearing, like becoming invisible. I feel like with the technology we have today, that would be more plausible today than back in 1943. But I don't think even today we can make a ship go completely invisible and reappear somewhere else. And the fact that there were only 2 witnesses and one witness didn't come forth until about 1988, I find that kind of crazy. If you're going to have a big experiment like that where a ship where you're trying technology that probably has never been tried before or tested, to where this huge entire naval ship is supposed to disappear, I would think there would be a crowd, at least of scientists and, military officials. I wouldn't think this would just happen just to happen and there'd be no one else seeing it. So to me, it seems a little iffy. It doesn't seem, I mean, not necessarily a hoax. It may not have been meant for the ship to completely disappear. It could have been, as Dungeon had said, for masking it for missiles, which I find completely plausible. But it's just strange, I think, just to only have 2 witnesses. Again, guys, what do you think about the Philadelphia experiment? Do you think it's a hoax? Do you think it's real? What theories have you heard? Comment below. And as always, I go live every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I speak all things spooky. Be there or be squared. Stay spooky and sweet nightmares, guys. And I will see you on the next one.